very important first step. And as I've introduced myself earlier, my name is Fantasy Say, and I will be moderating this chat. Very simple, very direct, very honest, because this is the beginning of the future of our country. And this conversation is specifically with us. I believe we have a lot of young influencers in the Gambia that are in this room today, that have a voice, that have a platform, that drive the narrative. And that's why this conversation today is very important. And we're having it with our mother, the mother of peace, our former vice president, I'd say, Madam Tambajang. This is what we will have today. It's a conversation. The questions we have, our plans for the country. It's a lot, and also it's very, very important. I will just quickly give a run through of who this incredible woman is. For a lot of us, we've just seen her as, oh, she was a former vice president, or she's a peace ambassador, or she's a peace mediator, or she travels all over the world to make sure that countries are safe. Countries are post-elections are great and are peaceful for the other countries, but we do not know at her core who she is. And I'm just going to give a brief bio of who she is, and then we can start. So Fatima Tasia Diallo Tambajang was born in Brikama, a trading town in the Gambia. She schooled in the Gambia, Brikama and Amity High School. In Dakar, the Cheikh Anta Diop University. In France, University of Nice, Antipolis. And the United Kingdom, University of Bradford. The one-time French teacher turned national political anti-mediation and former vice president of the Republic is a mother of 8 children and an award-winning UNDP development practitioner. She's a dynamic human rights defender instrumental in architecting the uprooting of Yahya Jammeh after his brutal 22-year reign over the Gambia. Bibi Diallo Tambajang was former advisor on women and children's affairs to the first president of the Gambia and has chaired the Gambia National Women's Council and represented it at the Gambia National Economic and Social Council, bringing about the strengthening of the National Council Women's Bureau and key women NGOs. Bibi Tambajang was also former Secretary of State, Health, Social Welfare, and Women's Affairs. She is currently one of the most coveted peace mediators in Africa and has brokered peace in Liberia, where she worked for 5 years during the Charles Taylor government. In Togo, in 2017, between government and the opposition, and in Guinea-Conakry during its post-presidential election crisis in 2020. In Sierra Leone, just recently, after the 2023 post-presidential election crisis, amongst other mediation initiatives she has headed. She is now ready to step into the #1 job in this, the presidency. With an agenda heavily focused on tackling the many challenges young people in this country face, with us today is a lady every young woman and every man should emulate. A woman that has helped the Gambian fly high on the world stage. This is who we have in our midst today. And some fun facts, because I've read quite a few very important books, but this woman also is just, she's a mother to us all, and she has a great sense of humor. But some of the fun facts about her, she's fuller, obviously. That's for me. A Mandinka because she married a Mandinka from Bansang. A Wolof because obviously if you're in Gambia, you must speak Wolof. Aku because her greatest friends and her adopted mom was Aku. Lingala because she lived in Congo for many years. French because she studied it in university and was briefly a French teacher. She is definitely a girl from Brooks, aka Brikama. And the question here is, what can she not do? This, ladies and gentlemen, is who we have on this stage. Thank you very much. I would like to now, at this moment, introduce our very beautiful, incredible mother. Take the stage and, share a few words, and let's get the ball rolling on.
God Almighty, for bringing us together today for the cause of the country, which is the Gambia. Um, I'm definitely honored and very happy to see so many faces in this hall today, which epitomize your interest and commitment to really see our country advance to the next level of development, inclusive governance, respect for human rights, rule of law, and of course, democracy. Today, I'm going to listen to you. Many a time, we the adults feel we know everything that you need. We know your inspirations. We know your realities. Yes, we do. But do we give you ears to listen to all these inspiration or aspirations that you have? As a mother and understanding the role of women from the family, community, and the nation, we know that women have empathy. They are compassionate. They love their families, and they are inclusive. So today I'm going to listen to you, and the reason why I want to listen to you is to have your voices reflected in my democratic agenda. So that when you read the manifesto or you read my strategic plan for the country, each one of you will see his or her voice and his or her contribution to this important document. So I think the floor is open. I know the first question would be, why do you want to contest for the presidency? I think that question is pertinent. I am doing that because of an unfulfilled agenda. 2016, we have been in the national struggle where every one of you have participated either in the forefront or back. And for 20 years, maybe realistically for 19 years, we have had the national struggle to change our government from autocratic rule to democracy. And I have served as vice president on the current regime. And the question is, why did I leave? Left because I was sacked for political reasons. But more importantly for me, I left on the basis of principles. Because the agenda for which we fought day and night in Elba Beach, in small huts, under the mango trees, under the baobab trees, are yet to be fulfilled. Adopted a comprehensive agenda ranging from constitutional reform, legislative reform, land reform, security reform, civil service reform, and so forth. And I realized that I saw on the Holy Quran to serve my people, to serve my country. I see myself as a servant, not only servant of God, yes, first, but also servant of the people who should listen and work according to the needs and realities of our people. I saw that the agenda has been delayed. None of the reform agenda has been adopted. Hence, we see the current president asking for the third term. That is against democratic principles. Even though the constitution, we don't have a new constitution. But leaders must have moral responsibility. He had a moral contract with us, social contract, to say 3 years. 3 years, I must say that explain to you being the chairperson of the National Commission. There was no way we can fulfill 3 years. because we did not find anything in the coffers and we needed money to really do the reforms that we adopted. But we say we extended it to 5 years, and then after 5 years, I did call the attention of the president that once God has given you the extended 5 years, it is important that you honor your promise. One thing I know, I believe in the Holy Quran, I believe in God Almighty. So whatever I say, I want to stand by those principles. If I cannot be part of those principles, if I cannot be part of those actions, then I need to stand up for civil society, for which we know before, to stand up and see how much we can remobilize ourselves, forget our differences, and ensure that we look at the country first. Let's put the country first. So on this note, it is very challenging for me to contest for the presidency because we know the constraints that women have. But I am one woman that doesn't fear. We have fought, we have fought the most powerful man, Jammeh. Most powerful, most popular, most wealthy than the current president. And we fought him tooth and nail. We saw the results because we were together as a nation. If we come again as a nation and we decide and we are committed to really change this undemocratic regime of Adam Barrow, we will do it. So on this note, I will now give the floor to our able, excellent moderator, who is also one of my favorite brothers, to really conduct the affairs of this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry to give my back to some of you, but from time to time I'll be streaming to see your faces, your beautiful faces.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I would like to just open the floor, but first, of course, I've asked some very good questions that I know a lot of us have. Some of the key questions I believe today, a lot of people have. Don't worry, the questions will come to everyone. I open the floor. We'll just start the conversation a little bit, and then do not worry. I know a lot of us are here are eager to ask very pertinent questions, and we will all have our turn. That is why she's here. First, I would like to ask, why does this campaign matter? Why does this campaign, why does it matter?
The campaign matters because we want to have everybody to stand up for the Gambia. Many political parties are here, starting for the First Republic of His Excellency Sadauda Kairaba Jawara, who I must acknowledge was a Democrat that brought everybody on board. We had peace and stability. And of course, most importantly, they fought for independence for us. But other political parties that, as time goes on, other political parties came. And of course, there are some of the political parties that really stood up for their ideologies and their commitments to advance the country. But because of the measure of understanding, the level of understanding of our people, some of those very few political parties couldn't make it to the executive. I acknowledge them. I don't want to name names, but I acknowledge them, and I'm sure all of you know those political parties. So people matter. And for me, young people, men and women matter to me. My agenda is to put people at the center, at the epicenter of everything that I do. People matter. So I cannot really do anything without bringing you on board and having this conversation with you so that I know what is bothering you. I know what is bothering you from a developmental perspective, from diplomatic perspective, and political perspective. But in what of many, wahdi, kiburam lagana jack. So if I listen to you, when I finish my political agenda, each one of you will definitely see that, well, this was my voice, this was my contribution in developing the agenda, which is, of course, a process and not a static situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know this is prominent in a lot of people's minds, and I will ask, what is your response to what people have to say about you being too old to run for office?
To me, age is a number. I have never seen age as an impediment. Age is like having a physically disabled person or a person that has been underprivileged in terms of accessing opportunities. For me, what is important in life is to have the competence, is to love the people you serve or you want to serve, is to have the health, the ability in terms of capacity. Because even under the constitutional provision, the only thing that can disable a president is when the president is incapacitated, when he or she can no longer perform. I have been struggling all my life. I was married young. I had children, came back and went back to school privately. And today, I struggle to become the vice president of this country, not because of position, but because of the commitment to serve my people. So old age, and also we have to recognize, yes, I'm old, but I was in the forefront of the struggle, national struggle to remove a dictator of 22 years. I slept only for 3 hours, and the rest of the day I was between hospitals, I was between the courts, and I was between everybody among the victims that suffered the atrocities of Jammeh. So whether it's me or any other person, we must not use age as an impediment to serve the highest office of this country. I am capable, I have the experience, I have the competence, I have the knowledge, the connections with the international community. When we had the change, I played a catalytic role to run around to mobilize 40 million US dollars from the World Bank, African Development Bank came, EU came. I was able to lead the development of the National Development Plan 2021. So my capacity is there, and I'm a workaholic. I'm a perfectionist. So whether I am elected or I'm not elected, I will continue to stand for this country. So my prayer is for you, for God to put me in your hearts, to vote me in as a president, and to see the difference. I also have compassion. I am a family woman, and I have worked in the struggle in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, in Togo, where you had fighting and conflicts. And even with my age, I was able to make a difference. Today, Sierra Leone is in peace because we had the EU and the African Union and ECOWAS that selected me to be the peace mediator between the opposition party and the ruling government. And even in Gambia here, Each time there was a problem, I stood in parliament to defend our country, to defend the executive, to defend our country. The Faraba incident, the Busumbala incident, the Manjabo incident, so many problems that happened. And I also defended many people who were wrongfully dismissed from government. So it is not the age that matters, as long I have the competence and particularly the commitment to serve this country.
Thank you very much. I hope that puts that to rest. Another question I have is, what are your plans for the?
My plan for the youth is to have many programs to empower them. Economic programs, social programs, and also health programs. My government is going to promote the empowerment of youth, men and women. I've worked in the project area, project development for the past 30 to 35 years. Personally, I can design a project within 5 working days, and I can resources. So I'm a technocrat. By default, but a technocrat. I'm a fully technocrat that has been groomed by the United Nations Development Program. So I know how to mobilize resources. But my thinking is that we are going to first of all use the resources that we have, the domestic resources, before we go and give the ball, the hand to the international donor community. What I want to do is to transform the productive sectors of this economy, the agricultural sector, so that it can attract young people to become farmers, using the agro-industrial development value addition. We have the horticulture, we have everything, every domain, including also sports. Sports also is a lucrative business. So I know that I can do a lot of things that can make our youth to stay here in the country. Our youths are dying in the Mediterranean seas because they lack opportunities. So my agenda is going to be inclusive agenda. Even in the government and cabinet, I will have some youths in cabinet. Because I don't believe saying we should wait for the youths, we should allow them to wait for us. This is a time where young people and elders should work together to build the nation. Because without experience, you can never make it. And if we continue leaving you behind, there is no way you can get experience. So in my government, you will have young people as ministers, you will have young people as farmers, you will have young people as entrepreneurs, and also we can have young people in the diplomatic service. So this is the agenda I have. The details of the agenda when I'm launching the party, inshallah, you will all have copies of the manifesto, the copy of also my strategic plan. My also strength is evaluation. Whatever I do, I deliver. I am a perfectionist. I may say that sometimes I think it's bluffing, but it's not bluffing because sometimes you also have to show your strength. You know, I can design programs, I can mobilize resources. And the thing is that people believe in my leadership because I'm honest. I have a sense of integrity. So many commissions, so many commissions have been established in this country, but no one is going to see my name on those commissions. If the government doesn't owe me, I don't owe them anything. So you can rely on me. You can depend on me. And I think we need to also have a change of mindset. Let us try the women. We've been trying the men all the time. We've been trying the men. And apart from, excuse me, apart from Sadaura Karabajawara, who among the men that have led us has done what inspires our people? Today, the 22 years, initially, because I'm very honest. Initially, His Excellency, the former Excellency Jammeh, he tried his best. But because soldiers are not meant to govern, and because they didn't have the experience, there was no way he could make that impact that required. Then this one came and said, you know, that his niche is infrastructure. Are we going to eat infrastructure works? Are we going to just sit and drink water? What we need is the first of all, and that is the economy. How we are all experiencing in this country. Barrow price was how much? Now today 2,000 and something. So my first agenda is to improve the economy. How do I improve the economy? Is to ensure that we have strategies to reduce our debt burden. Today, the threshold of the debt, we are servicing debts more than using it for quality of education, quality of health, agriculture, and reproductive sectors. So for me, when I come back, I'm just saying that I'm not like other leaders that will tell you in 3 months, we're going to have a bag of rice at $300. That's unrealistic. But I will try my best, just as I have tried. Within the year of my vice presidency, I was able to bring so many things in this country, including Turkish Airlines. I was able to bring the technical assistance of Turkish Airlines here to support the scholarships of children. I was able to start begging for donors and also other countries to really help us to develop the youth capacity for entrepreneurship. So I was able to work with the EU to bring in the Women Enterprise Development Fund, which is now being politicized. It was meant for all women and young entrepreneurs, but now it's giving mandate or is this being implemented by the Women Gender Ministry rather than having it at the national level. So there are so many opportunities, and already I've started engaging those who are willing and open to help me have so many projects in development sectors. I want to really, when I'm holding a stick at 90 years old, to look back and see you young people in different positions and taking care of both families. There's no young person that doesn't want to earn a living to help his or her parents. But now you cannot do it. You can't do it. And the situation is really there. We need to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My second to last question before I open the floor. What is your stance on independence and leadership?
Independence for me is sovereignty that is depending on your people first. Depending on your people, meaning you have to build their capacities and provide them with opportunities. If you provide people, everybody cannot be in the public service, but you can have regulatory measures to ensure that you have the enabling environment where everybody can create a niche for yourself. Independence means you have to be self-reliant. You remember Sadala Kairumajawara, the underground Indian Powers. He had the Tessido philosophy. You remember Tessido? Self-reliance. Everybody said Tessido, and everybody was in your corner. Where you helped with you, even if you were a street vendor, you were able to improve your capacity to feed your family and to contribute to national development. But now we don't have that. What happened with this government is moving people from the streets, bulldozing them. That's the wrong approach. Before you bulldoze people, you have to really inform them that you're moving their markets. But you have to give them a replacement. You have to build markets. You have to give them access. You have to give them the facilities before you bulldoze them. I was against it, and I did bring it to the attention of the executive, including the president, that that was a wrong move that he did to the country. Moving people that were looking for like $1,000 a day. Moving them, now where are they? Most of them are hiding out. They spread their masks when they see the police, they go. But after moving them, what else? The way they were moved was very disrespectful, very disrespectful. And I think that for me, I will be creating, strengthening the markets that are available, because I'm not going to invent the wheel. What I'm going to do is to see where the communities want a market. I will try my best to have a market. Where there are markets, I will improve the conditions of the market so that whoever want to do anything, undertake any enterprise, you can be comfortable with that. So this is Lige Bunu Mwako Broker. The Balanga Broker Meet Lige. The commerce is in Gilbert. So this is Gilbert, and as you can see around, looking around, I have also seen a husband here. I have so many husbands. So many husbands. People who say I'm old, they should check the number of husbands I have. So, and I recognize him. He's a politician, and I wish him well, a great supporter in this room. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Before I ask my last question, you see the guy in the white blazer, Aliwali? Please, if you have a question, signal him so you can write it down to avoid a little bit of commotion. So while I'm asking and she's answering, if you have a question, please. Well, because I had to open the floor, my dear friends. By the way, he was my classmate in journalism school, don't mind him. Thank you very much. So my last question before we open the floor, what are your goals for 2026 and beyond? We all want to know. I mean, like you said, this is a full of young people. And we've heard a lot from a lot of different people. And for you, like you said, as a woman, this is very, very key, and it's a very, very bold step in the history of Gambian politics. And a lot of young people look up to you. A lot of young women look up to you. And I think when we hear everything you've said so far, in my opinion, is in alignment with a lot of us here would like to see the Gambian. Specifically, what are your goals for 2026 and beyond?
My goal for 2026 is to ensure that we have inclusive economic growth and development. If you look at the development trajectory in most of these countries, they have inclusive growth, which is measured by GDP, and rather than the human capital development, like people accessing social services, education, health, and productive work. So my goal is to really improve the economy. My goal is to really promote entrepreneurship, to promote businesses. If you look at our country today, most of the businesses are occupied by foreigners. I am not against foreigners, but we should build the capacity of our people to encourage them to have access to credit, microfinancing, and those that have important portfolios, we can help them, support them to have credit from the bank, loans from the bank to expand their businesses. So my focus is going to be developing the capacity of indigenous businesses. Like we did Abdul Wada, His Excellency, former President Abdul Wada did in Senegal. When he came, and even Abdul Diouf and Macky Sall, when they came to power, the first thing they did was to take care of the people, giving them livelihoods, sustainable livelihoods, empowering them to access resources, and also ensuring that their rights are protected at different levels. So how are the rights going to be protected? We're going to have regulations that will give them opportunities to register businesses. And also my goal would be first to see you cannot eliminate realistically corruption, but you can call corruption. So we will be establishing the Corruption Commission. It has been hanging for so many years. The African Union in the 2063 agenda had it as a pillar that African governments must work towards curbing corruption. So my goal is not going to be commission. We have had so many commissions. What are the results of the commissions? No reports, no accountability. So I'm not going to waste my time on commissions. Of course, it will be part and parcel of the corruption agenda, but we will be looking at how best we can have the production culture. When I was young, I'm going to Amity High School, Sankule Kunda and Yorubel Kunda, around that area, there were rice growing areas. Sankuya and all this LRR, CRR. But today, if you go to the Jahal Pacha is now, I think, owned by a private entrepreneur. So we want to really have taking back our country. My goal is for us to take back our country from the democratic principles, where we can also have create jobs, and where we can also support those who are at the back way, who already have gone back way. When I was as a vice president, I engaged the international donor community. I was against them bringing back those children here. You bring them here to what? There is no job. So I engaged them and I was able to convince them to give them years in their countries. And then when they can come with the expertise and experience and the resources they need. So it's going to be a people center. For me, it's going to be a citizen center. And finally, my goal would be to really engage. I like engaging people. Fortunately, I thank Allah for making me a humble person. The reason why I'm humble, I found my parents humble. And the reason why I continue to be humble is the fact that I'm inspired by what my parents taught me and what the Quran has said. You come with nothing, you go with nothing. You come with nothing, you go with nothing. The only thing that you take is the good that you do in your grave. And I really want to go, when I go to my grave, that I sleep peacefully and that you continue to pray for me. I want to have a legacy where you can look behind and say, yes, I'm on the Kufijar, Bunyaka Jamak Salam, Sibirmi, to Askami, Shigabogi, Accra, to began to again. The other encompassing, which is also talks about the goal, is part of the goal, is to really have good relationship with in the region and the sub-region. We are in Senegal. If you look at geographically, we are in Senegal. So we need to have good relationship and we will promote trade. There is so much money in the African Trade Agreement that we can utilize, we can bring for the use of Gambians in the business area or in any other area that they want to do. So we will be working very closely with our sub-region, our region. And since women are not many in politics, even in Europe, they are really not many. So my voice, wherever I go, I will continue to really raise the voice and visibility of women and young people. So you can take me not only as a parent, but also as your ambassador in every endeavor of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And now, thank you for answering all the questions. We will now open the floor and I'll call on Mr. Yusuf Taylor. Flex dance. Okay.
Sorry. This one.
It's not working, is it?
Go ahead.
No? I can hear you. President, okay. Okay. First of all, Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for this initiative. I think it's very laudable. Before I obviously ask my question, we have to acknowledge and really appreciate what you've done in the past, especially with the coalition. I remember I was in the diaspora then and watching what was happening in that. So my question, I didn't say my name is Yusuf Taylor. I'm a journalist, but an advocate as well. So my question, you touched on it slightly a little bit. It's about the former president, right? You've mentioned him a number of times in your statement. And we all know the current situation, that the he wants to come back, right? We've seen what has happened in the Gambia. We've talked about the conditions. We've seen the conditions, but how is it being implemented? So, I mean, my question now, really, what would you do differently? How would you deal with the issue of the former president, especially if he is trying to return? And his funds, over 1.6 billion. If it was you that was the president instead of President Adama, what would you have done? How would you deal with the former president issue?
Thank you. I will just write the format. Please, for when we all ask questions, I know we're all very eager and excited. Let's endeavor to be precise. So it's easier to be answered without, having it running around. So please, let's just have direct questions and precisely. That way she can answer them quickly. Because some of the questions I have here, we're not even done. Thank you. Go on.
First of all, you need to pay a fine for abandoning your mom. I haven't seen it for ages, but I've been following you up and definitely you also play an instrumental role while you were in the diaspora. If I were the president, I would handle it totally different. Because first of all, the assets, coming to the starting assets, the decision that we had made was that the assets must be sold in line with within the realm of the law, and that the proceeds should be invested in the National Development Fund for development. That is one. The other one was to really pay for repatriate, or how do you call it, the victims of Jammeh. And I just want to acknowledge them. It hurts me, pains my heart when I see that they are still, most of them are still in the condition they are. I have been engaging them, but at some point I felt bad seeing them and not being able to do something for them. So that would be the thing that I was going to do. But of course, it did not happen in that way. The commissions were established, and we know the outcome of the commissions. So many commissions have been established, like the TRRC, which was the story, the epic story of the Gambia. I would have expected by now we have the TRRC recommendations implemented. In terms of his coming back, it's very easy. What you do universally when somebody is on asylum, you cannot speak to the country, your host country. You cannot engage in any way apart from maybe calling your family members or your friends. So it's very easy. What they would do is just to have the Minister of Foreign Affairs to write to the government of Guinea Equatorial and tell them that this man, this is what he's doing. And then follow it up with a delegation, special envoy. Diplomatically, that's what they should do. But the president doesn't need to stand and say, I am the president, he knows I'm strong and so forth. No. There are things that the president should not even involve himself in, because you have ministries, and those ministries have substantive responsibilities. So that's what we should have done. There was no send a delegation, and if he continues, then president to president. You call the president and say, well, I'm concerned that this is happening. Because Jammeh can never come here again. I can assure you. He cannot come because they say ECOWAS has signed something that he could come. He cannot come. And because I was also, if you remember, I wrote an article on The Guardian to say that I was one of the people that said he has to leave this country. Political leaders were saying, Nankobai, William Kanelai. I said, no. You don't listen to women's voices sometimes, but we are intuitive. If we live here in this country, within 3 months, he was going to, because he had influence. The man is strong, he was popular, he had money. He would have played a coup against the government. So finally they listened and they allowed him to go. And we said the other thing that if you Google now, in my statement to the interview on The Guardian, I said he will be prosecuted. This was just logical, based on the findings of the TRRC. So now I would have just said quiet. I would have followed the diplomatic channel and just be quiet about it. Otherwise, in a way, it favors the political opposition parties that want to really form a coalition. But it doesn't favor the ruling government because it has shaken. Yaya still has influence. It has shaken the political landscape. You see people outside. The supporters are outside. And those supporters will not think they will vote for government. They will no. And I think the thing is that the mistake that the president did, you removed a president, you sent him to exile. How can you engage his party to be part of you? That is unethical. One of the things I had seen that when I saw them coming in and out of the state house, I advised him against it, that it was not good. People were still hurting, and it would not be nice to see that he entertains the APRC coming. I'm a Democrat, everybody has a right, but people were hurting. What we should have done was to ban them for 5 years, initial 5 years, just as they banned the PPP, and then allow the government to settle, and then at given point, they can come back and govern or compete in the contest in the elections. For me, I'm very strategic and I'm not emotional. I have no agenda. I think it was a wrong move to really bring the APRC. It's a step to the nation, bringing APRC as Speaker of our National Assembly, bringing the deputy as APRC deputy leader. It's a slap to the nation. It's a disrespect to the nation. And I think he did it purely out of personal interest. I think he needs to look at that. Because God forbid, if he is no longer president, if something happens to him, we are going back to APRC. Do you think, do you think he's with of course, in alliance with the NPP, but heart and heart, he is in APRC.
Thank you very much. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Taylor. Thank you. Mr. Keksane also has a question.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for this opportunity to have conversation with the young people. Since we are the cream of the nation, and once we have conversations, we will always have a solution. First of all, we know this country is so indebted to its neck. As we speak today, we have been $110 billion in debt burden on our head. Combine that to Jawara and Jammeh, what this government has taken for the past 8 years is not what Jammeh and Barrow, Jammeh and Jawara has taken in terms of loans. Having an intention to take over from Barrow, how do you address the indebtedness of this country? Because it is killing us. If you look at the 2026 budget, what we are going to pay in terms of debt service is more than all the various ministries in terms of budget allocation. So somebody taking over from Barrow has a serious issue to address. That's the debt burden of this country. That's why the prices are increased. That's why everything is expensive in this country. Because the money that we generated internally, a vast majority of them goes to debt service. How do you intend to address that if you are elected into office? And my second question, I'll just join it. We have an issue in our country in terms of women being part of taking leadership position. Either it is the mindset of the people Even if you look at when they contested for election, you look at the amount of men that are put into political office compared to the people, women that are elected, you will see that. So how do you, a country that is not yet ready to, in terms of political awareness, that one man can do, a woman can do, how do you educate the majority or the voters of the government people to understand that it's time for us to elect a woman to our head of office as the president of the Republic of the
To get voting, when I became president, that was my greatest concern. And what I did was to invite the convening meeting of the central bank, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and of course the Office of the President. And the strategy I had suggested is for us to see how we can develop strategies to negotiate the debt. You can negotiate debts. And I was able, as a person, as a development worker, I was able to negotiate for the Chinese government to waive $80 million that we owed over the years. It is on record. I was able to also negotiate with the African Development Bank and also the Islamic Development Bank. And to the extent that the African Islamic Development Bank had promised, because I was seeing that we were paid so much money on rents. So I had negotiated with them so that mile 7, they can build offices at mile 7, and then we can be paying discretionary rent to them, but that not to them, but put it in a fund, and that fund we will use for development. So this was the strategy. I also wanted to negotiate with the Caisse Française of France to renegotiate. You can do that, but it depends on the competency of the leader. A leader that has a vision, that has experience, you can do it. You know, it's easy to govern a country if you have a vision, because all this international donor community that you see here, they are flexible. If they know you know your country and you love your country, you can negotiate those debts. And then how do we also increase our resources, domestic resources? Domestic resources, they are a tax-based economy. We need to diversify the economy by opening up the private sector, by opening up the productive sector, like the agricultural sector. How people work? When people work, they contribute to tax. Rather than today, GRA is the only resource reliable revenue for us. GPA is going down the drain. Can't tell you what to say about it. So the state enterprises are really not working in the interest of the country. So what we do is to have to diversify our economy and to alleviate the livelihoods of people by negotiating for crisis, like removing monopoly. I know we live in a globalized, we live in a globalized, we live in a globalized economy where the impact, the war in Ukraine and the war in Palestine and Israel is affecting us. You know, what we can do once we have support and we invest in those productive sectors, by and large, plus the negotiations of refinancing our debts, we will be there. Today, and we also need to prioritize. Look at one time, I think last year, when the Minister of Finance presented the budget, he said they had, and we're going to eliminate that. Like the budget had already been signed. Strategically, I know that there can be emergencies. But taking so much money and standing in front of National Assembly, saying that we are going to buy ambulances, we are going to buy this. When people are dying, when children, how many children died out of that drug? You know, that also we need to look at. So in increasing, supporting, investing in productive sectors and also investing in young people and women, you we will definitely have a way. Maybe I should say by year 3, I can assure you that the debt burden will be reduced. Because I can engage the international community. When I was in the UN, during the structural programs, they came and said, well, economic growth. And because I'm a woman and I was handling many of the women projects in Dasilame, the Ringland Development Program in Nyamina Dambubu Western Buddhist, and also the salt production, the animal husbandry, so many agricultural projects that I was handling. What I did was I engaged them and I convinced them to have a structural program. And this was the structural program that supported the social sector. Otherwise, by the time we finished the World Bank structural adjustment, people would have really suffered. So I have the competence, I have the connections, and I have the commitment to really move Gambia forward. For the issue of women's participation in politics, everywhere in the world, look at Hillary Clinton. You know, Europe itself doesn't have the numbers that they need, according to the Universal Declaration of Women's Rights. You have the UN Convention 1325, which is saying that they should have more women in decision making. We have ratified this in the 80s when the Women's Bureau was established. But the numbers we have to advocate. Women have to also work for women. We have to be supportive of, if you have a man and a woman contesting for presidency, they will put the vote in the man's box. So we have to also change. If women want to come, have more women in decision making, they have to look at women, not woman as any other, but also competent that women that can represent them. I know we also have certain shortcomings. Women, sometimes when they are up, they don't look back. So for me, my legacy is to see many more women in the political arena, many more women in diplomacy, many more women in other sectors of the economy. So it's a transformation. We have to transform our mindset. That what men can do, women can do. And sometimes women can do better. Because women in leadership, it's hardly you see a woman being accused of corruption. Hardly. And there's temptation, I can tell you. When I was vice president, so many businesses would come. They would want to give me something under the table. In their interest. And what I said was, I will not sell my country. I fought for my country, and I will not sell my country. So I have not taken any butut from any investor. So many temptation. It's a big temptation. People come to you in your house, in the office, everywhere to tempt you, but what you need to do is your integrity and the ground that on which you have sworn to serve your people, and not to take the resources that is meant, because corruption is killing people. If you look at the amount of corruption in the national audit, if you transform that into a health post, you transform it into the local doctors or medication or schools, you will have quality life and decent living. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope that has answered your question. Finally, Mr. Ali Jal.
Thank you so much. My name is Ali Ujalo. I work for the Family Network. Congratulations on this one. Do I need the mic?
Yes. If it's a project, then you do not.
Yeah, I don't need the mic.
But if you have a project, then you need the mic.
You need the mic.
So project.
So basically, let me congratulate you to this Barrow. Many Gambians actually still recognize your role that you played in the 2016 elections or transition. Now, what makes you believe that Gambians should trust you into executive powers come 2026? And how is your vision actually different from the current administration and new political entrants? That is my first question. I also have another second question, which talks about your 100 days in cabinet. If you are actually elected as president of the Republic of Gambia, how do you plan to finance and implement today's economic climate? Yes, today's economic climate. And I have another question, but I'll have to wait. I will stop you. Don't be me. Those are my two questions.
My vision is to get back our Gambia, bring back our Gambia. And by bringing back our Gambia, meaning Gambianization of enterprises, of endeavors. And Gambianization means looking at people poverty level and ensuring that we invest on those people and sectors that will allow them to empower themselves and to take care of themselves. My vision would be also to implement reform. We have reform for the past 9 years. Reforms that were developed and adopted by the Coalition 2016. And yet, up till today, look at the security situation, we are still stuck with ECOMIC. We are stuck with ECOMIC, and that is frustrating the security forces. They are competent. Most of them have experience in peacekeeping, conflict resolution, and so forth. And yet we still have ECOMIC here. And the ECOMIC is only ECOMIC for the presidency, not for even for the vice presidency. When I was vice president, I said I didn't want the ECOMIC, I wanted my people. So up to today, I'm with the PIU. Because those are our people. If we don't trust our people, we frustrate them. So, and in the democratization process, what we need was to have security reform. Most of them would have been retired by age. Most of them would have maybe left the service, and others would have gone for peacekeeping. And then we would have a very good size of the security people working efficiently and also providing them with the resources that they need. Because like you go to police station, something happens, they would ask you, how many motor, how many essence. So we definitely need to work on the security reform. And the other thing would be to have the constitution. The constitution is going to be a priority because without the constitution, a democratic constitution, there is no way we can have internal democracy in the political parties. Political parties have more men than women, even though women contribute to so many things, activities of the politics, in politics. So we will look at the development of the adoption of the constitution and also the civil service. The civil service was best when during Yawara's time. People used to come from the sub-region and the region as attachment to the civil service here, but now the civil service today, if you go, they have no incentive. When I became vice president, I reformed the vice president's office. I saw some people were sitting in corners, just marginalized. And so we had general meeting and people to know what they were doing and what they wanted. So we need to really motivate the civil service and of course in legislature. There is a backlog of laws, backlog of cases. The constitution says 72 hours, you cannot detain a person after that. But up till now, we still have backlog of cases. When I go to prisons, I visit the prisons from time to time, also during 2016 and 18. And I find so many people, 5 years, 4 years, they're waiting, they don't know their fate. So that would also loosen. The other thing would be to reform the prison service, the prison infrastructure. We are all liable to go to prisons. You don't go to prisons because you are a criminal. I mean, as a you can be a political detainee. You can also fall in the other side of the law, misdemeanor, and go to prison. So any one of us can be a prisoner. So I think that the prison is not supposed to make people to be hardcore criminals. But we should be in a conducive environment where they can have skills, and so that when they leave and go back to the communities, they can benefit themselves and their families and also the community. So I believe that that's what I'm going to do. For the 100 days of my office will be really work. Because I'm a workaholic. If you ask my children, they will tell you I'm a workaholic. So what I will do is to first of all establish a very good cabinet, a cabinet by merit, not via money. I'm going to have people that really, yes, I'm going to have an open door policy where we will open it to the, that's why I had initiated the national think tank, where we can have, it's going to be a vehicle where people can bring in their CVs and we can establish a committee to look at those that are competent, young people, women, and so forth. And you can depend on me. I'm going to be next government, I'm going to be more women. And I'm sure that most of you will also understand. So it's going to be job, and it's going to be merit-based, not because of politics. You bring a politician to cabinet, they don't contribute anything. They don't contribute anything. Even sometimes the cabinet papers that they prepare, it's difficult for them to present. So it's important to bring them competent people, technocrats that know the issues. We should forget about ministers being just political figures. We should be technocrats to understand, to guide, to lead, and to facilitate, and also support the staff that we're working with. So the 100 days is going to be really establishing a cabinet, a competent cabinet, sharing the profile of the cabinet, also developing a strategic framework that will guide us throughout maybe the next 3 years or 5 years. And of course, eventually we will be evaluating those strategies to ensure that we progress, and when we have challenges, we improve.
You talked about the think tank, under the president, but we've seen what kind of initiated the think tank, which actually died. Could you elaborate a little bit as to how your think tank would be different from the one that the Barrow administration formed and failed?
I am the pioneer of the national think tank. That was my baby. I initiated it from the experience I had from the UN and the experience I have in the international, working with the international community. Even in America, you have national think tank. Many countries have national think tank. And my philosophy was to bring in talented Gambian from the diaspora, from the country also, to come and help. Where we lacked capacity, we can bring them as consultants. And I had the advantage, because I work with the UN, I was working with a program called Top 10. And what the Top 10 does is to bring in, when government brings in people from the diaspora, they will pay for 2 years, 3 years of their salaries, give them housing, and then ensure that they train the national local counterparts. So that when they decide to leave, you will leave national counterparts here. And because it was my baby, when I left it, everybody killed it, because in the first place, the government was not interested in it. I would say they were not interested in it. When you have an agenda, like that, a national agenda, it's better for you to stay on course and see how best you can really facilitate to operationalize it. But also, I must say that it's because of lack of experience. We didn't have the requisite experience to understand the importance of a national think tank.
Aliu? Thank you very much, Aliu. I'd like to pass the mic to a young lady called Maria Majan.
I do appreciate the opportunity given to have a question on this special day. Basically, to post it onto FDT, the chat to the public, and then basically I believe that it's for the youth. My question for the day, I think it will be one because others have already answered all the questions that I want. I mean, well, I would elaborate on to features. I mean, what do you believe will be the biggest challenge facing Gambia in the next 20 years? And if that be the case, what specific steps would you take to prepare the country to the challenge if elected? Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. You know, in life you have to have a vision, and a vision encompasses present and future, of course, learning from the past. Gambia today is geographically advantaged because it can be, uh, it has a very good landing strip for air for flights. We also have the port, which is of course regrettably is being given out on contract or other to foreigners. So what we need to do is to really look at the infrastructure. Infrastructure, our young people, the skill sets that they need, the vision, the skills that they need to work for the future. That is including, of course, the emerging technologies like AI. For me, I have some reservation on AI because AI, some of the cons of AI is really moving the workforce, human workforce. Most of the workforce will really be reduced. So what we can do is, as a government, I will do as much as possible to look at methodologies that would allow our people, even though technologies, we will give them with the workforce, we will give them skill sets to really cope with the emerging technology. We will also look at what is obtaining in the world. You have the change, you have disaster, disaster, you have also natural disasters. So we just have to be strategic. We have to build these strategies that will not only respond to the present but to the future generation to come. And in terms of leadership, we also need to look at leadership. You know, having good leadership, leadership that have vision, and leadership that are accountable to the people. Most of our leaders, there are some, but most of them are usually function. They don't look beyond themselves. Like when I come to, when I have my government, I will not condone corruption and I will not condone incompetence. And look at it from a human rights point of view, not just come and allowing laying off people. We need to do is to look at what is in terms of competencies and build their competence. So the future is bright, but big, depending on how you see it. For me, I have hope that if you prepare people, you put people at the center of development, at the center of dialogue, at the center of processes, you definitely have the adequate capacity to respond to the future. And my prayer is for us, for the future, to find us in good shape, so that each one of us will have a really part to play in the process. Inshallah.
Thank you. Just quickly, if we can have one row, while she was answering, there was a lot of noise from that corner, that corner. If you can please have one room respectfully, we would really appreciate that. Thank you. Also, when you're asking your questions again, do not follow the lead of Ali Jal. He's always been this way in class. If you have one question per person and keep it precise, we would really appreciate that. And the next person would be Mr. Bob Keller.
Assalamu alaikum. Excellency, the former Vice President, we want to thank you so much for this great opportunity. First, we have to thank you for your great leadership role you played in 2016. And we hope we're going to have the same in 2026 because looking at this room here, the vast majority of the Gambian people are here, that is the young people. Because according to statistics, if you look at it, 65% of the population of our population, they are all below 35 years. So this means a lot for us. So my question will be, since we are the majority, what plans do you have for the young people, like in terms of sport? Because if you look at our sport infrastructure for the past 2 years, we don't have a stadium. And we have young drifters also that are here, and it's also a concern for the for the government, for the young people, the drifters. So when I was sitting here, I have a conversation with them. So most of them, they already have this avenue. So all what they want is the government to give them the license so that they can be able to build their own infrastructure and they do their thing. So what plans do you have for these young people and other young people that are aging in the sport?
Thank you so much. Already, I had initially when I started my conversation that my agenda is for the young people. It will not be correct. And I think for me, what I want is to leave a legacy where people can continue to be self-reliant and to have the opportunities they have. Government doesn't have the resources to really invest on individuals.
Can we have one room, please? I'm so sorry. Can we have one room, please, respectfully? Please.
Government doesn't have the resources to invest in individuals or collective enterprises, but they can provide an enabling environment. For instance, like when I travel on missions, I can engage government to say that this is also the difference with mothers, women and men. Each time I travel, I always know that I have left my family behind. That is the young people that I have left behind that are so committed and want to do so many things, but unfortunately you don't have the opportunities. So you can engage governments to say that, well, I want a fund, for instance, a fund that will support young people. In the African Development Bank, there are so many opportunities, lots of money in the African Development Bank. And because I'm a technocrat, I'm not going to just sit and sign. I'm not a person that will just sit and sign. I am a person that is engaged. You bring me something technically, I will look at it and assess it and ensure that it makes an impact on the lives and livelihoods of the people, the young people. So I can engage, I will not give you resources from government because you don't have. I can engage the international community and I also can create domestics that can have funds to really help the people. The stadium, it's a shame that the stadium is still in the condition it is. Because the OIC, part of the OIC program was to have a new stadium. You know, it was to have a new stadium, state-of-the-art stadium. And not only that, CAF has given funding for the stadium. So where is the money for the stadium? So this is where we need to have an accountable government. Whatever comes in for the people must go to the people. That's my belief and that's my commitment.
Thank you very much, Ma. I hope that answers your question, Paul. Next, we have Swai Busane, SS Media. I hope this is Swai. Yeah, okay.
Hello. Thank you so much. And to expand that. Although unfortunately you are limiting us, you have to go with that. I don't know. But then I'm gonna start with this. You did mention about the moral lessons. Let's say the president tried to go for 15 years. So there's this question in the society and in the media space. There was a period in time when the president openly stand and said, if anyone can show a proof of him signing 3 years contract, like an agreement sort of like after 3 years of stepping down. Later on, we saw your interview at Peter Gomez, finally, where you highlight that there was an agreement on the side. Now the question is, why, when that time the president was openly asking people to show an evidence, he never showed answer that question? And that's one. Now the second question will go to the youth aspect, that is employment youth. Of recent, I am from Eko at the rural Gambia ends. Most of the youth in there, when we say Barrow right now, Gambia, when you said, okay, 300 people have taken the 7 days, you know that 200 or 250 is from the rural Gambia ends. Because the government totally forget that. The entire agenda is here. When you come in office, what do you have for those youth in there? And if you look at in this room here, we have a lot of media platforms here, a lot of influencers here. But all these views and the likes that we are having, we are not
Those that are having international accounts know that 30% is going to US account, which the government would have. If you come in funds, what are you going to do for the media platforms to monetize their accounts and make
For me, the media fraternity and my friend is my friend. I love the media because without the media, it will be difficult for us to know everything that is working within and around us. So I have discussed this issue with Absen, who is a veteran media practitioner, a very eminent media practitioner. Over the years, I've discussed it with him, and I have seen him fighting all the time. When you read the editorial to the president, letter to the president, he always addresses this. I believe that if we need to first of all reform the media fraternity by having that Communication Act, the Public Act to protest and so forth. And so we have to pay in other countries that are smart enough, they give subsidies to the media. So what we will need to look at is to revisit, look at the best practices in those countries and see how they do it and we emulate in line with the resources we have. But certainly I'm going to be one person that will start to support the media. I know Sadao used to do it a lot, and I will definitely want to support the media. The other issue would be to professionalize the media. Now you have so many journalists, so-called journalists. Not everybody's journalists. Some are media, some are journalists. So the School of Journalism also, I would like to support because it's a very lucrative, a very good institution that we need to promote. Government needs to promote the institution. The other question you were talking about the 3 years government. The 3 years government, I just said that we said 3 years because we were in a rush. We had only 6 weeks to campaign. And we didn't have time, the NIA or the so-called the NIA, we used to go everywhere. We meet sometimes 3 hours by the time we have information that is the NIA is coming to surround of the location. So we needed to really do some of the things very fast. But then, according to we should have, let me tell you, people say the coalition has not done much. The coalition has disappointed them. But I think, for me, I think no institution, no endeavor is perfect. We did it, and it was unprecedented for the first time in the history of this country. We have a change to coalition government. So we did not have enough time to really think through. These are some of the lessons we learned. We didn't have enough lessons to learn, enough time to really think through to have it 5 years. And besides, the president was somebody who came, nobody knew him. And so it was very difficult to say that we are going to have 5 years. And what we decided was for 3 years and then look at it and see how best we move forward, call for elections and so forth. So I was part of it. I did not, I left before the 3 years. But still, I stood by the 3 years and with the consideration that we did not find anything in the coffers, in the treasury. When Jammeh, during the impasse, the central bank was empty. He emptied the central bank. We didn't have anything. We didn't have even budget support to pay salaries and so forth. So we needed to really work hard. We extended it. I could have said that because he sacked me on political reasons, that I would not continue supporting him if it were for position. But because I was standing for the country and I knew that it was going to create problems with 3 years government, I stood again to mobilize the coalition and we spoke to those who were against the coalition. And even when they were arrested, I called the president and pleaded with him to release them. So 3 years was unrealistic. This was the lesson that we learned. Because it's, of course, with the constitutional provision is 5 years. And so constitutionally, and also matters got lost, when Honorable His Excellency Hussein Dabo came out and said, anybody who says 3 years is going to take you to court. You see, so that also really added salt to injury. But realistically, 3 years is not enough. So this is a lesson that we learned, and I think that Mission 2026 is going to make a difference. The other lesson that we learned from the coalition agreement is that it was not legalized. We signed, it was not legalized. If it were legalized, then President Barrow would not have been able to remove, to sack anybody within the coalition unless if the person committed crime or violated a law. But because we didn't sign, but these are lessons that you learn as you go on, as you take in some processes, and I know that the 2026 is going to be really, not again perfect, but it will be near perfect, inshallah.
No, I'm not asking you just, I just feel like, the question regarding about the media and influencers, maybe we could see connected together. So I'm talking about, instead of supporting us in finance, like subsidies or stuff like that to the media, working on us getting monetized, our contents getting monetized. Will you able to, like, what are you going to promise us to monetize our accounts in that context? That's what I'm talking about. Because looking at Nigeria or other countries, their countries are monetized on most of the platforms.
They get paid back because of their views.
Yeah, because of their views. That's what I'm talking about. In that context, when you are elected now, what are you going to do for us that are in the media space in that context?
And you know, I cannot be jack of all trade or maid of all trade and mistress of none. I will have competent people to look at the issue and then advise me accordingly. I am going to be somebody that is going to find good advisors. Every advisor competent in your area, they will revisit that and advise me accordingly. And after advising me also, I will do my research. I will not depend on their advice. As a technocrat, I will do my research and do the right thing.
Okay. We have about 45 minutes to the end of the event. So to help give everyone the opportunity to ask a question, please let us keep the question very concise. If not, we have over 25 questions here. Everyone's not gonna get a chance. And the whole purpose of this is for everyone to get a chance. Okay. Tita Joe.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My question has asked already by the young man of influencers when it comes to my data. It's already been answered. Mike will model me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, we're gonna about it. Ismail Joe, Mr. Ismail Jalo. Yes. Yeah.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My question is, seeing how most African heads of states usually abuse state resources in campaigns that they use just for their own needs, just for their own political agendas, and not necessarily for the benefit of the people, do you think it's an idea that could be proposed in future governments where any political party that steps into office is taken out of political campaigns, and then all they have to do is to do their campaigns by walking and not using state resources for their own needs?
Okay, he called me grandma because he has no fish money. Ismaila, you're most welcome. I think that's a good suggestion. It's really unfair in the way state incumbents use state resources for campaign. They use state resources, and not only using state resources, they will ask the communities to pay to contribute towards the campaign. Meet the People's Store is purely meant to understand the problems of the people, their aspirations and their ideas and what they need in their communities. But now it's used as campaign. And you cannot differentiate campaign and make the people's thoughts. I think that is we need to hold the executive accountable to that. When it's meet the people's thought, they use state resources. When it is campaign, they should use their own resources. Otherwise, it's really unfair on the opposition parties using their own resources while the incumbent executive uses state resources for campaign. It's a pertinent point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jalo. Abilities.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tambajang, and I have a question on behalf of the university students. So one of our major problems is that we face is the fact that we don't have any resources. And we all know that somebody is far and all of them. And the incumbent government is not doing anything for us. So if given the opportunity to be a president, what are you going to do for us?
Yes, I think education is the pillar to human capital development. That's very important. It's a very important institution, and it's just wrong priorities. The government has wrong priorities. If you look at the education sector, the budget is very small. Agriculture is very small. Health is very small. So if you have a government that has the right priority, like the government I'm going to have, we are going to give education adequate resources to be able to really support the learning and also support students. And I'm also somebody that loves the students whenever I can. So we will establish also very strong national funds for scholarships for underprivileged children who are talented and yet don't have the opportunity to finance their education. And that's why we have so many dropouts, not because they are not talented, but because they lack the opportunities. So this is something that I would put on my agenda, even in my manifesto, education and other sectors definitely have adequate resources.
Thank you, Bill Case.
Also, the thing is transportation. Transportation, yeah, I know you definitely face a lot of difficulties in traveling to Fatba. So perhaps, as simple as asking countries, some country like Turkey, to help you transport for students. We used to have the public transport, GPTC, for students. So perhaps we will go back to that this year and see how best we can get people to support us in transportation.
She mentioned. Oh, okay. She did mention a section of education that where she mentioned something about Turkey, that there will be scholarship provided. So that covers that. Yes. Next, Maimuna Fofana.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to have a very good time with you. Okay, my question is very precise. So it is, how do you make sure that women, voices are not just heard, but included in major national decision-making? So when I say women here, I do not only mean women, not positions. Because when we say women empowerment in the Gambia, what I used to see is that top position women, influential women, come together in a conference, talk, chit-chat, and go. Forgetting about the women in the rural areas, the ground seller, and then, so many women that that they are struggling so much, but their voices are not heard or being included. So this is my question. If you become the president of the Gambia in 2026, how will you make sure these movements voices are not just heard, but included in this in the Gambia, particularly in the outside?
I worked with women for the past 35 years, and our focus was mainly to provide opportunities for every woman, but more so people in the rural areas who are the producers and the producers. If they don't grow, we don't eat. So what we do is to really take into consideration the agricultural sector, because women are in the horticulture, they are in the agricultural production, they are in different things, animal husbandry. So what we will do is to have resources to ensure that rural development is very important, but we are going to take it from the context of decentralization, devolution of power, bringing encourage the people, making them consent to like projects, design programs, and so that the central level will just be coordinating, and they will be empowered by getting the access to resources, microfinancing and so forth within your work. And initially, we want to introduce value addition, agro industries, where you can have industries that will create employment, not only for women, but for the communities they live in.
Thank you very much, Maimuna. And Mr. Abdullah Dabi.
Okay, I have a question to ask. The first question is this ends at 8 p.m. That's our time that we have now left. So please choose your best question. Your best question. And do it. I beg. Yeah, just ask your best question. One question per person. Take your time. We have half an hour. Okay. My question is now, as far as we are talking about the constitution the governance, especially the recently we have seen that the parliamentarian have decreased from 500,000 from 500 to 100,000. Now, what yes, the question is now as far as we are especially parliament, but now recently recent parliament have had the heat to correct massively from 5,000 to 500,000. Now, what do you of it?
Today I was a panelist in the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, and some of the research, there is a research that was conducted by them that shows the cost of politics in the Gambia, and some of the constraints, the impediments to political participation of both men and women. So we took the example in the coalition. During the coalition, the participation, the fee was very expensive, was very high. So we negotiated and then we brought it to $500,000. So now what we recommended today in the panel is to really bring in parliamentarians and civil society, women and youth to negotiate, to lobby for that cost to be reduced. Because what it was is an impediment. It's like telling people only the wealthy should go into politics, which is not correct. Because sometimes sometimes people go not wealthy, but they become millionaires at the end of the day. So we want to have equal participation in politics. So this is an item, it's a priority item, and I'm also part of those who are going to lobby for that reduction of the fees. Not only even presidential. 2016 it was 500,000, now they say 1 million, and I think by January it's going to be 2 million. That means that only people can go into politics, but that should not, it's not right. Everybody has a right and opportunity to do politics and to enter politics if you want.
Thank you very much. Ms. Mariam Kamara.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Mariam Kamara. journalist working with young online TV. But tonight, ma'am, I'm not asking you as a journalist, but I'm asking you as a mom. Because we love our children, we love them. But then we are scared to take them to the hospital to get treatment. Because probably we are scared that they will be given the wrong treatment or they'll be given the wrong medication. So, in that case, what's your long-term plan when it comes to health care?
Healthcare is very important. A healthy nation is a developed nation. So the health sector, we're going to have reform. And of course, we're going to be competent doctors and also nurses. The agriculture would be really based on competency. And should anything happen, we would have sanctions. Like those children that really died of that drug, so we will take care of that. Because you have to have trust. Parents have to trust the healthcare system. And so we will do our best to have reforms. Not reform as the present government, but when we reform, we really want to implement the reforms in the benefit of everyone. Before we take another question, I think it's important that we also bring the conversation to the influencers who are here today and of course other participants. They have really been working very hard and they are making significant contributions to nation building. And yet we recognize them, but sometimes it's very difficult to see where they are. Reach out to them and ensure that they really support them in their various means. Because now we're talking about digital economy. So we need to also see how best we can help them to really learn new skills, have new set skills in the digital economy. Because it's also that's employment, it creates employment for the young people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Fatima Sajala. Trust me.
From everyone. I believe in that slogan that says, empower women, empower the world. Strong women, strong future. Quality for all today and always. Have voice, have power. Have right. Breaking barriers, building dreams. Right? Gender equality. My question is, how can you help the society, especially youth that are on this debate programming in the Gambia, especially women?
Yeah, we have in our manifesto that we are developing. Vocational skills is going to be one of the pillars of the manifesto because not everybody is really skilled or other part of aspects of education. Skills are very important. Skills are in Singapore today. Singapore had only water. And today Singapore is really Singapore is an advanced nation. It has good economy, strong economy, and human capital development. What they did was to invest in their people. If you invest in people, particularly in skill sets, where the things are evolving, you have the dividend. So we will be having more strong, enhancing the vocational skill centers for people who really want to be professional, have professional skills, and those who are also encouraging people to really diversify their skills. Today, you cannot really work in earnest if you don't have knowledge or if you're not savvy in IT. I know my daughter or my daughters help me from time to time when I have problems in IT. But I was forced to learn because to be independent, you really need to learn from the grave to from the cradle to the grave. Because as in Islam, Ikra Bismillah is the first surah of the Quran al Karim, which is saying that you have to learn from the cradle to the grave. So learning, and unlearning also. It's going to be our pillar.
Thank you. Mr. Dauda Malwe.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Wadan from Department of Work. Former Vice President, thank you very much for the top position at number one American Party. We say in this country, women constitute almost 60% of the district voters across the length and breadth of the country. But when it comes to decision making, women are seen as often women who are yearning for these positions that are dominated by men. In the run up to the 2022 legislative election, we have 19 women who stood with men, but only 3 were elected. What measures do you have to ensure that these women who have been used as political tools to stand against women yearning for this top job occupied by men, you can convince them to give you their votes? Come 26.
Yeah, initially I said, I think I mentioned that we're going to have a constitutional reform, that will have a quota system, and the constitution will guide the political parties to have also a quota system. The private sector also will be guided by, and that we will have sanctions to those institutions that are not willing or unwilling to really do gender parity in the institutions. So, because really, if you look at the change, it was by women and young people. But if you look at cabinet today, only 3 women, local councillors and so forth, and predominantly in the labor force, 51% are women producers under rudimentary conditions. You have in the labor, the young people, 38% of the labor force. You also have 65%, 65 to 70% of young people in an economy. So those resources are asset. They are an asset. They are increments for development. So we should try as much as possible to really develop their capacity so that they are part and parcel of development. They participate in decision making. They participate in politics. They participate in this, and when there is need to participate in protest, they participate. We encourage them to participate in the rule of the law, and that we have democratic principles where people are free, freedom of association, freedom of association, and also participation in different aspects of their life.
I think Mr. Mark is saying there is a specific part of the question that you missed you to answer. What was that, please? Can you project for where it's at, please?
The question is, we say the women, in what context, women, fellow women are used to the challenge of context. We've seen over 90 women go against them before the election. The question is, how are you going to convince your fellow women to vote for you in the midst of very few fellow men who are registered?
This is an issue that we want to initially. I have mentioned that women vote for women. I've said that. Because of, I think it's more of mentality, and because of also the women who really want to contest for political position are not strong enough, they don't go out enough to reach out to women. I can assure you during the pre-voting system in the local areas, in the rural areas, many women have committed themselves to vote for me because they say, at least for the first time, they've heard about my job and some of them have contacts with me and then they will vote. But for us to vote to ensure that we transform that mentality, mindset, or not supporting women, we need to do a lot of lobbying, a lot of negotiations, and we have to reach out to women where they are. Not sit here in the central area and just talk to them. We have to really meet them in their communities of origin, speak to them and give them, convince them. If they are convinced that when I become president, they will have better living, they will have access to resources, and they will be considered in terms of decentralization of infrastructure, communications, and microfinances and resources. I'm sure they will good for us. But at the level of the national coalition building, that is also somewhere that I need to be very, very strong and instrumental and see convince the political parties to vote for me as the flag bearer for the coalition 2026. Already I've initiated the negotiations, not because to vote for me, but first of all, for us to come as a strong and winning coalition against the incumbent government, and then also convince them at the level of listening to say that, well, I have this, I have that, I have the pedigree to become the flag bearer of the 2026 presidential candidate, inshallah.
Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Laura. Okay. Next we have Daniel Sala.
Good evening to you. My name is Barrow, and I am here to speak on behalf of my fellow Western France who are accessing the knowledge known as education. My question here is, that what or how would you try to reduce the accountability or strategies of bribery and corruption, including tribalism, nepotism, and favoritism, in terms of scholarship and acquiring knowledge for job opportunities?
Um, the tribalism is becoming a trend in our society, but it's an ugly head. We have never known, Gambia has never known tribalism. You see, for instance, the United Nations, I'm a Fula, married to Maniga. I have children who are married to Warok. So married to different tribes. And we have never felt any disparity among those nations. So we need to work very hard and advocate for that. And particularly politicians, they have a responsibility to ensure that doesn't happen. It is we're still talking about it, but we should advocate for that. And for justice is for everyone. Whether you come from an underprivileged family or whatever. If you deserve a scholarship, you will get a scholarship. If you deserve a job, you will get a job. I will not, as a president, I will not be everywhere. But as a leader, if they see that I'm honest and I stand for the truth, the people I'm working with in terms of ministers and directors, they do it because they know if they go wrong, I will really rectify them. So we are sure that the Gambia that we want to promote now with you, is a Gambia that is inclusive, that will provide equal opportunities for everyone, regardless of your tribe, your condition, and your situation. Thank you.
There are a couple of cars that are blocking the street, and the number plate is BJL5882. BJL5882 will block the road. And BJL8020Z. BJL8020. Z. Kami ako na lang Z. Di ba lang Anyway, 5882 BJL8020Z. Z, like the guy said. Pick your cars and go in the highway. Thank you very much. We'll be resume. Maimuna Minte.
Assalamualaikum everyone. I'll begin by uploading you. So yes, now as a child rights advocate and a family disability advocate, I would love to put this question. So in as much as youth, women and men are key stakeholders in countries, recently we've seen how child rights abuses keep skyrocketing, and I feel like there should be a strict response to this. So now, what are you doing, or what do you plan to do when you acquire the seat of president? Tackle this such an unfortunate. In the Gambia, almost in all sectors, we have sidelined and alienated persons with disability on our field. So now, what plans do you have? Any plan in your agenda to is there any space actually in your agenda that has representation of this
People with disability are our parents, our children. So we need to have equal opportunities in everything that we do. I know that by and large, when I was in cabinet, we had a disability act, you know, and you know, the implementation is very slow. So one of the things is to really give more resources, invest in their capacity, invest in their institution and so forth. Because people with disability, you know, disability, today you are able, next 5 we are disabled. So every one of us should really think about that. So we will give them opportunities to really invest in the institutions, having good teachers, and also giving them opportunities. So even for higher education, because most of them are talented. So we will do that. In terms of the child rights, there are so many gender-based abuses, so many abuses against young people, especially girls, gender-based violence and so forth. The gender, we will have a very strong gender ministry that will really cater, will have the required resources to look into those issues. We will really also research to see where the numbers, try to have eliminate all forms of discrimination, particularly violence against young because the thing is that when it takes a whole village also to take care of that, because some of the violence is a family member, and yet it's a taboo. So we need to change our mindset, the parents, and also sensitize them, so that if that happens within the family, they should report it. All criminal cases must be reported to the police, and the police must handle it and deal with the perpetrators. Otherwise, it's not so many. I know so many girls are suffering because they are suffering from. They have been inflicted with gender violence within the family. Community is always somebody you know. Always somebody who knows you or knows your family. Sometimes yes, you have isolated cases, but those cases also we will find a way to deal with them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ini kalau orang sudah menikah kawan orang suami, orang saja ni kalau orang yang ada di kampung. Don't worry, you'll get your turn. Kaya nga natin na niya yung ugalan sa si Wolof, kala mo Wolof na kala mo sose, wala kala mo pulsa, suni ay pula, anday mo pula, wala suni ay pula. Kaya nga natin na niya yung ugalan sa si kala mo, Wolof sose pulsa, hindi doon dahil, floppy, hindi. Ah? Okay. Baka don't worry, I see you there. I'm familiar with you now. Okay. Okay, one second. Okay. Adam Asane.
Thank you, Mark. A young man talked about something which is very, very important, that is migration. And
we tend to focus more on the external migration and for the fact that we really forget about the rural urban migration. It has really become a concern, and I think one of the problems that we are faced with in this country is because most of the people are coming from the rural areas into the urban areas. I am one of them. And that is simply because there is nothing to keep us there. So if you are going into hubs, what plans do you have to decentralize development? Stay in their villages or stay in their communities. Work. Secondly, we almost talk about corruption or combating it every time. But if you look at the average annual of a civil servant, it's really low compared to other countries. How do you intend to elevate this and making sure that they have a better standard of living to avoid corruption or some sort of corruption?
The rural urban phenomenon is really increasing. And just as you rightly said, it's because of lack of opportunity. That's why in my initial statement, and I have repeated, that I will have my government will decentralize. Will decentralize not only governance, but also provide opportunities for young people to stay in their own communities of origin by creating employment and also supporting them through their different enterprises. Because if you don't have opportunities, you will come. You know, as we grow, as we were growing, the people in the rural areas during good times, they used to bring a lot of rice and foods and everything for the urban area, but now they no longer. So you have to have rural urban trip, and what that draws economically, it puts a lot of pressure on infrastructure and also the people. You know, when people come, often or India, it really compounds the situation and condition of the people. So it is important that on my agenda, that I have something that will be centralized to provide resources that are needed to rural people to be empowered and to have good jobs and to live decently because they are not second-class citizens, they are citizens. So they should have the right to access resources for development. Okay, the other issue is about the salaries. The salaries are very low. So what we will do is to really look at, we have to assess. You know, for me, as a development practitioner, I believe in assessing situations before we act. So we will look at the situation in poverty. There is a poverty assessment. We will assess the situation of the civil service and see how best within the resources that is available and the support of the international donor community, how we can increase their salaries. But notwithstanding, regardless of what you earn, you are not supposed to become. From the Islamic point of view, from the Christianity point of view, you have to be contented with what you have. You have to be creative. As a civil servant, if you don't have enough, maybe do a little bit of farming or do something else that will give you a second earning. But there's no reason in this world that should allow corruption to happen in any way.
Thank you very much. And we have about 10 minutes left before dinner and there's a buffet downstairs. But we have also 6 questions left. So, Mr. Suleiman Joe. Suleiman Joe.
Oh, like, I have a question. Like, what did you, I'll be the president of the Republic of Ghana. What policy do you have for parents? For parents in the education and agriculture. For parents, I mean, like, what policy kind of government for parents? For example, as we see in the Gambia, here, kids are everywhere. They have like, you can see children from what I learned from other countries, parents have policies of taking their parents to school, regarding whether financially or the government will see how best to help them. So what do you plan to do when you take the country yourself about parents and education, number 2, on how best we can reform the education sector? Because as we can see, kids are no more passing like the wild resorts are no more coming like previously in the last decades like they used to. And we don't have much of kids from high school now wanting to get into university. All they're thinking is to maybe try to get money from the whatever they call it and so on. So what would you do for the kids and so on?
Yeah, I think question is, providing opportunities for parents to have to work. If you are,
No, I mean, what policy we have for parents? For example, we see in this country right now, kids, for example, kids are everywhere. They're on the education sector. Like, what policy would you put for parents to help their children? For example, like those who are not well educated. What policy would you put for them to put their children into schools and so on to have a better future for them?
we have talked about vocational skills training for dropouts, and not only dropouts, those who want to go for skills, for professional skills. So what we will do, the curriculum, we need to look at the curriculum. Look at the curriculum and see how we can develop the right curriculum for our children. Look at the dropouts and also look at the, we also need to look at go beyond the child and see the household. What is the level of understanding and poverty of income also of the families. If people are busy, they are poor and busy working, sometimes they don't have time to focus on their children. But we would also to have put the for the Ministry of Gender to really advocate for parents to pay more attention to their children. And also they need to have the curriculum to provide information and also support. To help those children that are out of that are dropouts. Because every child is important. Every child is an asset. And sometimes you see people are skilled, and at the same time, once we help them and we support them, they can become genius. They can really be empowered, help their parents, and also contribute to the nation building.
Thank you. Chief Ahmed Jallo. Mind you, we have about 5 minutes left, so the quicker the better. Chief Ahmed Jallo. For 3 minutes, thank you.
Thank you, Grandma, for this opportunity. As a higher education student, my question is, what is your opinion on the high unemployment rate of high school and university graduates? And do you envision a Gambia where more technical hands-on skills is taught out of school? My question is, what is your opinion on the high unemployment rate of high school and university graduates? And do you envision a Gambia where more technical and hands-on skills is taught early in school?
We in the past, we have always followed the conventional method of education, which is prepare the child for the public sector and not even private sector. But this time what we want to do is to really look at what the educational sector is doing now and see preparing the children to go into enterprises. They start their business, entrepreneurial, and they also try to show them different, to engage them, to look at what they are good at. Some are good in skills in carpentry, some will be official engineers and so forth. So we assess the capacity of the children, teachers, competent teachers that will do. And for the unemployment rate in Senegal, in many of the countries have unemployment among university students. In Senegal here, you have people who are PhD, that are selling newspapers. And we have also PhD holders, master's holders that are really doing pretty tricky. So this is not a phenomenon. Of course, that's not it's not complacency. We should not be complacent in saying that it happens everywhere. We will have measures, policies, and programs that will ensure that people unemployed, students and other students, create employment for themselves through entrepreneurship on different areas of their interest and support the system. The government would always have the enabling environment, creating the right policies and providing the right policies and also engaging donors and international communities to help us create some sort of, and look at the digital economy now. It's creating a lot of employment where you can just sit remotely, work with Google or work with other AI mechanisms and earn your living. So you have to have creativity also as an individual to create employment for yourself with the support of the government and living environment.
Thank you. Mr. Kevin Party.
Good evening and hello to everyone. And I'm good to see you again. And I'd like to address the elephant in the room. Of course, I'm not asking you any question because everyone who knows the former president of the Republic of the Gambia knows you are competent enough to run the country. So the question is, we are standing at a historic crossroads. And today you mentioned here something that deeply resonates with every young person here. This undemocratic regime. Now we are standing at a crossroads where the incumbent seems to be stronger than the combination of all of us combined. So with this fragmentation, you mentioned about the coalition, national coalition building process. Like how far is this? And are you hopeful that this coalition will come into existence? And if it doesn't, what is your projected scenario of that which will happen? Suppose that the coalition fails.
Thank you so much. Good to see you again. I first of all acknowledge all the work you're doing, particularly in climate justice and development. And I also applaud you for creating so many job opportunities for young people. Um, Thank you for the acknowledgement and for really supporting endorsing my candidature already. In terms of coalition building, it was more difficult during Jammeh's time. Most powerful, wealthy, and connected. But we were able to do it when we left our differences, dialogue. We are in the process of engaging each another. So many people have come and we have engaged in dialogue, and we have told them that even though it was more difficult, there are still challenges because if we are divided, the incumbent is coming again. And he has said that he will even come up now. So we are working towards that, and we want everyone of you to help us in every corner. All the young people who will start just as we did in 2016. Wherever you find yourself, talk about coalition building, and whoever don't support anybody that doesn't want to go to the coalition. Don't support any party or any movement that is not going to come to the coalition. And what you do, just tell them that with the coalition is for everybody. We leave our differences, otherwise they're all divided. We will definitely allow the improvement to run. He is putting his life onto that, and whether we like it or not, he's going to run for the third term. Actually, he says he is ready for people who say that he should run for third term. So we are working hard on it. Very few, I think in January, we're going to have a general meeting of all the political parties and movements, so that we can have a structure and have like a government in waiting, start to advocate, have a coalition candidate, and also put our resources together, put our campaign strategies. So what we need from all of you is every one of you to advocate for the strong coalition, and for all of you to advocate for the support of the coalition by voting. Please have no like a vote for the coalition. If you vote for the improvement of the role of government, it means you are voting against democracy, because we all know what is happening, and I think we don't want to really have another dictator in the country. We have said that never again in the JRRC, and we must be committed to the course of the JRRC's recommendations. Never again. Yeah, because of lack of political commitment. It's lack of political commitment. He wants to go run again. If there is second term, if he had the chance, second term limit, he wouldn't run. But because he knows we have spent over 116 billion, is it? Am I right? Invested in the review process. We have gone up to the diaspora, every voice has been reflected, saying they want two-term office. But because of wanting to run again, he is against it. So I think we really need to now first, among the first things that we want to do is to have a constitutional review, a new constitution for the Third Republic. We have been on the Second Republic for the past 59 years. We now need to have a new constitution by Allah's grace, inshallah.
Thank you. We are actually out of time. We have three last questions, and I want it at the same time so she can answer them quickly. We have one from Fatima Tasane, another from Network, a TikToker, and that was also a TikToker. So these are the last three questions. You can answer one at the same time, so you can answer them and bring it back.
Thank you so much, ma'am. First, I would like to congratulate you for announcing your intention to run for 2026 presidential election. Congratulations. This is an inspiration for all young women and girls that we can lead. My question is, I'm a feminist, so I believe you can and you will. But my question is particular. There's so many women in hard to reach area that go through maternal mortality. These are not records, but they are the realities they face. How best are you going to work with the Women Amendment Act to make sure that women everywhere are safe and have access to this hospital? But also, when it comes to female genital mutilation, we know that it is banned, but there is problem with law enforcement. What policies are you going to put in place to make sure that these people that are going to children are safe from cross borders, female genital mutilation, child marriage, and teenage pregnancy, and then perpetrators are held to account and held accountable, and justice is served to those that went through sexual gender-based violence during Jammeh's time. We know that the TRC recommendations are there, but they're still ignored. How well are you going to work with the women and girls to make sure that they're safe in this country? Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity to video the company. Malimolo like the recording of Lucas Pop, sit your head in the Sud Hope, one of guys, video home. From you expect when you're fit dog and make them really. But at the end of the time, fit dog and you didn't feel all the time. So, you want to try and help you back about. You hold camping a happening and get the floor happening. Yung but hindi bayar ng helmet yung kapalan community bigay kapalan niya so lolo ko pag skip ko hamne logo diwa civil Yung parang yung best siya lubang din. Kaya hindi nga hati wax ito ng kami kita po. Wow.
Okay, good evening. Okay, I want to ask you about, we all know that many anti-corruption bills are still pending approval. They not approve them because we know that corruption is still common when it comes to our money of our public sectors. Because many of our public sectors, they are representing themselves instead of representing the public. They are not representing the citizens. Because when you talk about our parliament, most of them right now, what they are talking about is to increase the salaries of the parliamentarians instead of increasing the salaries of the staff and the members we go or the citizens we have. So if you are elected, what will you do to make sure that all these pending bills that we have, they will be approved in the government and we will be free from corruption. So the corruption will no longer be the chief commander in our places.
Well, this is Mariam Sane, Fatma Sane, and my namesake. You've asked a good question. We have said that I've said that in my manifesto and my agenda, we will have quality healthcare, and quality healthcare will have a safe motherhood. In the 1980s, when I was in UNDP, we established a program called Maternal and Child Health. And that big focuses on primary health care, including safe motherhood. So the healthcare system, which is right now just the issue of just infrastructure without elephant, white elephant. You have the infrastructure, you don't have the good doctors, you don't have competent nurses. And you don't have also the incentives in having them, giving them good residences and support incentives for them to stay in the rural areas. So the social system, the health system is going to be improved. We're going to improve it. We will have very good state-of-art health booths in partner centers, and we will also look at the maternal and maternity rate. Right now, the maternal and infant mortality and the infant and maternal rate is high for a country that has been involved in primary health care. We have been involved in primary health care, but still we need to really improve on that. So safe motherhood is very important. Everybody who is still 9 months and just to lose a baby or a baby to become an orphan is something that the state should not allow. It's a crime against humanity. I think it's going to be the epicenter of our social system, transformation of our health system. The other issue that we would like to talk about is to also be very innovative to see how we can introduce health insurance, particularly people who are in rural areas, people who cannot afford to access. Today you go to the hospital, a doctor sees you, you pay maybe 1,000, and then you spend about 2,000 to the pharmacy. If you don't have the money, what happens? You just remain ill, your children remain ill, and at the end of the day, you just pass off before your time. So we will also we're going to look at a lot of things that are happening in the sub-region, learn from them and see how much best we can mobilize resources to ensure that we respond to those issues. Thank you. For your legal so this is mobile rule, Loroda. Ñun dañ toogoon ñu am benn kàddu ngeen gëm ñu ngeen taxawal ñu ngeen support ñu ba ñu am coalition 2016 boo xam ne dictator moo fi nekkoon for 22 good years am na xaalis am na security am na connection ñu taxaw ñu nekk benn ngeen gëm ñu gëm suñu bopp ñu sacrifice suñu lives yi bi ñu toogee agenda bi demee boor mu binda nekkul di ko doxal li ñoo doxal mooy boppa sa bopp man nag man dama suma ëllëg lay seet Suma de when you don't want kasanke seven meters room. Suma de be lan lay wax yàlla ñetti laajte yi kan mooy sa borom lan kan mooy sa yonent ak lan mooy sa téere ñetti laaj boobu ci gabu bi moom laa bëgg a mun a tontu donc képp su ma tegee suma loxo si alquranul karim man lii laa leen a defar loolu laay def su fekkee ne dem naa ba ma am teexa dinaa dellu si yéen ne leen ah lii laa bëggoon wante dama am teexa bi nag lii ak lii la ñu toogaa ñu waxtaan ak askan bi ñu seet naka lañ ko doxalee. What's your question again? I understand you very well. I spoke about the anti-corruption. The anti-corruption bill is deliberate. That's why up till now it has not been implemented. We have seen the audit reports, what the audit reports have said. There is a lot of corruption at all levels. So what we will do is to ensure that we provide, and also, we have to be fair. Fairness, democracy is justice. What is good for Uganda, most is good for Uganda. If we are going to increase salaries, we have to increase salaries across the board. We cannot increase the salaries of the judiciary, leave the teachers that are struggling, leave the securities that are standing under the sun 24/7, risking their lives, leave the drivers, leave the cleaners. That's not right. If we are going to have increased salaries, we have to increase the lower level and sacrifice for the other levels, the senior levels, to sacrifice, not doing the right way. And I'm not going to have a case one. I'm not going to have a case, a box that will just be for me. For all my life, I have shared the little I have with people. When I come to government, it's going to be more. I'm not going to say I'm going to give you my salary, but I will make sure that whatever I do is within the limit of the law, and I want to be fair, because God has admonished us that as leaders, tomorrow we are going to be accountable. We are all going to stand, God is going to say, "Walaka karamna ya bani Adam." Among the people that I have created, I love people more. What have you done with my people? President, yàlla daf ñoo dénk askanam bi itam te li mu bindee yëpp nit la gën a mun a koo xam ne ragal nga yàlla di looy def rek loo defal Faatumata wala boo defal Samba loolu dina tax sax nit ñi dañ laa gën a wekk dañ laa ñaanal te dinañ la jàppale man suma nguur dafa nekk nguur boo xam ne su ma fi jógee ci kàttan yàlla di ngeen di amoon fi jaar incha allah.
Thank you so very much. And on that note, this ends the Q&A session. Thank you all so very much for your questions, for your time. It's very appreciated. And we are about to wrap this up. There's dinner downstairs, but of course, we'll stay back for the Q&A, some 1 or 2 minutes interview with, the media fraternity that is present here. However, I would just like to invite our very able mother to, list some of the key commitments and wrap it up, and then I'll sign up for everyone in terms of, jobs, skills, entrepreneurship, digital economy. Talk about this briefly about that.
Okay, I think we have covered everything, and we have covered it, not me alone. You have inspired me, you have challenged me, you have asked questions, and I think I have answered them to the best of my ability. We might not have all the questions answered today, but this dialogue that we have started is going to be a continuous process up to the time of elections, inshallah. You've talked about my agenda, which is really bringing back Gambia to ourselves, Gambia what it used to be, claiming our glory. That's democracy, rule of law, respect for human rights, justice, equality, and also women, young people at the epicenter of everything we do. We're going to have a citizen charter where all voices will be reflected. And we're going to talk about the productive, the diversification of the economy. We're going to improve the life and livelihoods of people. We're going to have quality education. We're going to have quality healthcare. We're going to have productive sectors. We have to support the capacity building of young people. We're going to give them opportunities that will allow them to stay in the country and work for the country. We also talked about the representation of youth in governance and decision making. You will be part and parcel of my government, and of course, we will have a system which will be determined by the assessment that we are going to do. We are going to also adopt the reform agenda, which is the constitutional, legislature, judiciary, civil service, all the reforms that we have learned to get, so that everybody knows that we're going to have time limits, very important time limits. We're going to move leaders appropriate accountable. If you are minister, you will be held accountable. And we're going to introduce performance contracts for ministers. If you perform, you go to jail. You don't perform, we will sack you, but we will put you in a place that you can perform. It's going to be merit based. And we like your support. We want everybody to participate and everybody to have an open society to use dialogue. Let us forget about conflict, let us forget about crisis. If we have contentions or we have concerns, let's make it in a way that is within the law. That is writing to government, engaging them in dialogue, and ensuring that we have solutions to all the problems. Okay. So finally, also, we want to have everything that is there is accountability. If we have auditing accountability, the audit report will be respected, they will be implemented. Those who are found wanting will be perpetrators will be taken in the eyes of the law or to courts. We also have young people, encourage young people to work hard and contribute to nation building. On that note, I want to thank everyone. You really miss. Okay. We also talk about the digital economy that is creating so many jobs. AI and so for supporting the media fraternity, subsidies, and also monetizing the platforms we have talked about. On that note, I want to thank everybody. We're so proud, so proud. Even if I don't win the presidency, just seeing you coming and participating makes me happy and proud and satisfied. Thank you so much. Santa, this be content Santa na yan, di ba alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Paski daro la loo xam ne lu musul am ci réew mi loo xam ne oon nañ ndaw yi waxtaan ak ñoom di leen laaj seen gis-gis seen yaakaar ak seen bugga ci réew mi li ñu bëgg a liggéey mooy ku nekk jigéen mag ak ndaw dañ war a nekk ci agenda bi li ngeen fi wax ak li fi waxtaan mooy naka la ñoo def ba dund bi wàññeeku coo fi mu nekk nii dañ coono loolu dina nekk lu loo xam ne moom la ñoo njëkk a toppatoo nit ñi di lekk léegi soo gisee néeg bu bari soo ndekkee doo añ soo añee doo reer léegi ñetti li fi amat xale yi ñu war a dem school yaa ngi leen war a fiyal school luwaas bu baa ngi cher booba luwaas dañ am ren contrôle léegi amatuñ contrôle léegi sax su fekkee dañ laa laaj dafay indi dollars te loolu dafa illégal te loolu dafay indi waaw loolu dafay 6 months sports bi tamit suñ doom yi def sports wante amul dat encouragement xaalis bi ñoo fay ci sports yi ñu gis nañ suñu génnee suñ doom yi ñu ngi liggéey bu baax ñoom ñoo indi a lot of wins victories fii wante support bi dafa des So léegi foog ñu créer ay industries bi ay liggéeyukaay ay bunti liggéeykaay pour ku nekk li nga mun te nga bëgg koo jàngal loolu dinañ la ci jàppale. Wérgu yaram bi ak jàng bi dina am qualité incha allah te jàng bi du nekk rek de dem school am na ñoo xam ne métier lañ bëgg li bëgg a liggéey métier ñu am métier. Mais pare tamit dinañ am nit ñi tamit dinañ def benn programme boo xam ne saa waxtu ak waxtu dinañ toog ak askan bi ñu wax ñu naka lañ gisee li ñu yóbboo réew mi loolu dafa am solo loolu def nit rek nga def ko président nga toog rek di ko seetaan dafa war a am benn forum boo xam ne dinaa ko créer waxtu ak waxtu dañ ne ñaari yoon ci at wala ñetti yoon ci at bi dinaa toog ak askan bi ma ne leen naka nga gisee nguur si lan moom ngeen bëgg a mu lan moo baax doo leen bëgg a mu yokku ak naka lañ ko defee su ko defee yéen yëpp di ngeen ci am solo. Sécurité bi tamit sécurité bi tamit wax nañ ko réew mi fi mu nekk nii suñ sécurité bi dafa des bu baax a baax ñun am na lu bari ñu ko gis léegi di sax booba xamaguñ ko mu ngi rey nit ñi di dox seen paas yi waaw léegi sécurité bi dañ nekk loo xam ne dinañ ko dégëral dinañ leen jox jumtuwaay yi nga xam ne moom lañ war a liggéeyee soo feebaree di nga war a am ambulance di nga mën a faju sa doom su jàngee su wàccee dinañ seet naka lañ ko dimbale mu am liggéey su ko defee même yaay yi même maam yi nga xam ne dañ leen a bàyyi si kër yi dinañ leen ko créer dara loo xam ne léegi ñoom ñu dem ñu daje ak seen i si ñu am ñi nga xam ne mën nañ nit ñu nit ñu mën a ñëw ñu daw lépp lu waaye am la nga mën a participer léegi wax nañ tamit ne ñun ci biir Sénégal lañ nekk suñu géographie soo gisee Gambie ci biir Sénégal la nekk léegi foog ñu nekk ak jàmm ak salaam ak Sénégal ñu jubóog ñoom ci soppi ñoom itam yeneen réewi Afrique tamit ñu jubóog ñoom mbir tamit li nga xam ne ñoom ñu ko def te baax na si suñu réew ñooy dugg ci suñu réew waaw international bi tamit dinañ wax ak ñi nga xam ne ñoom ñoo amee jàppale bi ñuy wax ak ñoom ñu jokkoo ñoom wante nag man suma nguur du ma bàyyi suma nguur international community bi du ko doxal ñun ñooy xalaat suñu xalaat ñu ne lii lañ bëgg ñun leen dimbale leen parce que suñu loolu su yàggee ñu dañoo toog la dañoo léegi lu moom lu am solo la bari bari ko ba kontaan naa bii moo jaata baat zéro de baat annata gonoto yala haydol fole ayala murol fole amunta ko tela masakunda abikala murol la masakunda powerful people ko nimba kala nimba wira na tolo nimba kala na tolo wati ne wati ne dulaso to na ka foso to la lo na kachaso to msali ne ka masakunda ta nyadile abidana le bangha amambe jami tolo tingada Papa dan nyata dalam yang tinggal. Udah nabe teata tolong, nanti nyata tolong. Dia mengambil aku, mina Afran tadi. Kamu kombe ban maaf dan mekaran presiden. Nah, apa kata dia? Ada macam mantima. Bani ben pernah ada mesejnya. Bani nanti, kami tadi kami pernah bani ni kalau sontak. Kami jadi kende, bukan guru for security, Masa Puna Dogulan, Momo Bedo Kela, for Minister, even Kaito the Sinela Cap, convening this are no Yaki, Nimano, Ntebaina, by the system of Lado, is even no baby. Having a mobile, then even mobile, in your tap on my email. No, didn't know, but didn't time. So humanity in the Barrow in contact and Seoda, Martin to the Margena, Muduala, Masatalai, for the Mimbeka China for Alasiba College. Vietnam Army, 2026. This is one of the coalition, better sort of the young coalition 2026. Many months upon that would be like that. Near the Masakunda. Kulle mantanya tonya la miyempai bari yempai masu man nakaroke, man sakotina, political walatina yambundi. Masatanda tindugan kabla yambundi. Afrika Bangkoti jam mantada. Masa kundal kan kumandi, ni program so mata yemi kacha. Ando ala kabar ko kaleji. Kabin to pol for Mali, for Rwanda, for Sierra for Liberia. Program be jam France. Ani mingo sini Kenya. Lapi no say that na na kuida Italy. Muna do man mo na po sana dia alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Ato kunyo ko mo. Ato no. Niaje mulita bi man ko kontamisi man. Bi ke buka bayo samputa de bayo mamad man biyan. Kyo fana biyan. Nyake mayo siatal de. Nyake mayo siatal. Ya, ali president of Mukemati. Hana mande paso dina ba Mukemana. So kyo siatal. Bale ali ro bi ni ali ko do ani mbeblo man kole. Bangko ko mo mati kon kyo. Ni kon kyo man kontan kon kyo man da suno soro. Kon kyo be batati. Ibe yanka katini. Ima kono toni ma pendo la akani. Muna ko ko dala no. Aditano. Latina atobe adina nota. Anungamir ko nangani mbanyele. Anwangani wafana mbanyele. So mbesi dua. Mungu bangko da kairo tipo anasa kini. Na masakunda mimbe jang. Na polisi roka. Atsikate usodo. Atsibote. Momo, ibe dauda. Sereke yeka usodo. Kato do nyaka jogoni. Tuma fitno no alkana fitnodina. Ni ala sonda. Na programu ya na minta ka civil service for constitution legislature na mino minta na tare ni na kunda fito so na peta mani asi bangko na fa so ki bondi alaba